Please welcome to the stage Tom Rock, Vice Provost for Student Affairs, who will introduce our first Early Career Award.
David Flink. Conventional wisdom holds that if at first you do not succeed, try and try again. But ever since your third grade teacher chastised you for not trying enough, you have shown that success is often about working smarter, not harder. Struggling in school, before being diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD, you spent more time in the hallway than the classroom, banished for unruly behavior. You were saved by a janitor who played chess with you and by your facility for magic tricks, which gave you confidence. These were your first steps toward understanding who you are and developing the insights you have shared widely, that LD means learning difference, not learning disorder. And it signifies membership in a valuable and important minority, and that LD children must focus on how they can learn rather than on why they cannot. That journey has taken you to prominence as a visionary who imagines a world where all learners will be recognized and empowered to succeed, and as a leader on the front lines of the emergent learning rights movement. With Eye to Eye, the nonprofit you co-founded at Brown University, you hit on the inspired notion of recruiting LD college students to help LD youngsters develop critical social and emotional skills, understand their own learning styles, and learn to ask for help. You have since developed Young Leaders Organizing Institutes to train young people to lead grassroots campaigns and advocate for their rights as learners. You have added a scientific base to your knowledge of LD issues through your graduate work here at Teachers College. And you have published Thinking Differently, a guide for parents of children with learning disabilities. Though obviously written for LD children and their families, Thinking Differently, as mental health expert Harold Kopowitz writes, helps all of us to understand LD children. David Flink, for persevering to harness your own difference as an asset, for courageously sharing your story, and for ensuring happier, more productive lives for countless others, we proudly present you with the Teachers College Early Career Award.
So I'm struck by an Early Career Award because I feel like it's both an honor and a challenge. I'm truly, truly honored, and thank you for those really generous words. The challenge, I realize, is it kind of says you're not done. You're early, but you got a long way to go, and I accept the challenge. I've been thinking today a lot both about the call for young people and how we must invest in young people, because they're going to change our world. They're our democracy. They're our future. And also thinking about really who influenced me here at TC, and then hearing names that sound familiar, and how many of those people aren't with us anymore. So for me, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge Maxine Green, the late Maxine Green. I'm going to say a few words about her, and then explain how this challenge y'all have given me I'm trying to make into action. I easily could have called my first book like Lunches with Maxine. And the reason why that was is when I came to Teachers College, she was a legend, right? And someone like me, someone who spent most of his time on the cold linoleum floors outside a classroom, doesn't get to spend time with Maxine. It doesn't get to call her Maxine, by the way, right? And, you know, you took a risk on me accepting me here, but that still didn't, for me, feel like a reason to get to spend time with Maxine. But I think through Tom's encouragement, actually, he said, just write her. And so I shot her an email, and I said, can we get some time together? And she invited me to her apartment for lunch. For lunch. She was going to feed me. not just my mind, my soul, and my stomach. And that became a weekly occurrence for 2 years. Some of that was actually credit that I received here, and which I appreciate. That was really good learning. And it later became intellectual sparring. And it became clear just by the nature of decades between us that she was saying to me directly, I'm not going to be here forever, but life is long, and your job is first to continue this work, and second, to ensure that others follow you. And so much of her work, as many of you know, is around democracy. We run an art-based mentoring program, so it was also around how art can be the truest expression of democracy at times, help us find our voice. And I just want to speak to that because I think, President Furman, you have absolutely led us in that. And while we didn't get to spend time together while I was here, your influence has affected me. And so now I want to express how that challenge that was started here in 2007, and it's continued now. I graduated in 2008, but for the past decade or so, seems to be acting in the real world. Because what we do here is we think, right? I spent a lot of time thinking with really smart people. But then if I didn't take that out into the real world and make it a thing, that was just for me, right? So as I left here, my time was, as Tom described, really thinking about mentoring as a one-to-one experience. A person who had a learning challenge, dyslexia, ADHD, whatever words you like to describe it, empowering a middle school kid who had the same learning experience. We're doing that work around the country and around the world, but it hadn't occurred to me that that might be actually actions in democracy. While I was actually here at TC, I received a phone call from one of our students who was doing this mentoring for a challenge for me. His name's Jeremy. He was doing this weekly work, and he called me up and he said, they're reauthorizing ESEA, right? And do you know that one of the things that they're planning on doing is having students who have learning disabilities not get tested? And that, for me, expresses as they don't matter. And you're telling me all the time that, we matter, and you're telling me that Maxine tells you to tell me that we matter. And by the way, you're not doing this work anymore. I am. So I need you to be my chaperone. I said, what? He says, well, we're going to DC. And you're not the person who needs to tell this story. We are. So I need you to set up these meetings and be the chaperone. And we're going to talk to our politicians about how we deserve to be seen, heard, and valued. And then he hung up the phone. Oh, college students. And it was like striking to me how quickly I went from an 18-year-old doing this work to now a mid-20-year-old who became the chaperone. And by the way, fast forward now, I was like a single young man in New York, and now I am the father of an amazing little girl, Emma, for whom I fight every day to make sure that our education system is equitable, right? So I became chaperone, right? And I set up a bunch of meetings down in Washington, D.C., and I bring Jeremy and a handful of other young people who wear their learning difference with pride, the 1 in 5 people in America who wear their learning difference with pride. And I sat in a bunch of these meetings, and I said nothing, because it was the students' turn to speak. And at this last meeting, it was with the head of the Education Committee, Senator Bennett. And all the students sort of came prepared. They were dressed in suits and ready to go. Jeremy had prepared his story for sure, but nothing else. Forgot his tie, popped his collar, thought that would like compensate for the situation. Forgot his belt, untucked his shirt to like cover up that situation. I'm thinking, this is the guy who's going to deliver the message? But we get to Jeremy, and he looks at the senator, and he just says, Senator Bennett, I want you to know that I'm dyslexic, and I am proud of my gifts and my flaws. And like literally, that's all he says. And like literally, if this had been like a concert, he would have just like dropped the mic, That was kind of the way that he had about it. Like, I deserve to be seen, drop the mic. The senator raises his right hand. He says, Jeremy, I just want you to know this U.S. senator is also dyslexic and proud of his gifts and his flaws. I'm like, oh my God, we found the dyslexic senator. Like, how do we not know this? He had never talked about it publicly. And this is what young people can do. So I went from chaperone to like, cheerleader. I'm like marching around, like saluting the flag. And I realized I've left out the guy who set up this whole thing, Jonathan Davidson. And I'm like, oh, no, we need our allies too. I like try and backtrack, thanking him for setting up the whole meeting. And We have dyslexics and non-dyslexics, and we need our non-dyslexics. And he said, no, you didn't leave me out. I'm dyslexic too. Senator turns to him and says, you are? Like the two of them had been sending each other memos for years, like no one was reading them, And I thought about sharing the story today because this is what we're about. Our job is to inspire young people to figure out their passion, to make it a reality, and to create change. That is what was done for me when I was here at TC, and I have continued to take that challenge and put it in the hands of the next generation of young people. It's for my daughter Emma, it's for our kids, and it's for our society. So I am deeply humbled and accept the challenge and look forward to coming back to TC many times, updating you on how we're doing. Thank you.
Please welcome Britt Hamre, lecturer in the Inclusive